Well, we might have some people rolling in here still as we get started, but I'm very excited for our workshop today. This is digital marketing, and we have a friend and colleague Deantes Keys, to present for us. I know that some of his workshop is going to be inviting some engagement here, so I invite us to turn our videos on and really get the most out of this workshop. I know that he, having sat in on a similar workshop before with him, provides a lot of really great information, and we want this to have as much impact on the work that you are doing. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the next hour goes and what we learn collectively. So I'll turn it over to Deantes.
Thank you, Ashley. So I know it's the end of the day, right? And that everyone has had 3 days of proactive learning, fellowship, inquiries, ahas. I don't know what to do. I don't understand. And I just want us to like set the day, take a breath all together or within your respective homes, and just like sit with all that we have learned, all that we have taken in, all that we will take back to our communities, and just be in the space. A lot of times in digital, it's so hard for us to like take a pause because oftentimes we're going. And I found myself doing that this morning, especially as looking over the presentation for today. So today I just want us to like pace ourselves through this. Today we're going to talk about digital marketing in the terms of social media, which is one of the main tools and channels for communication now, especially amid COVID. Excuse me, I lost my phone in my apartment, and apparently the answering machine is going off with Alexa. 1 second. Sometimes you have to tell Alexa to stop. And she's keeping going. So I want to get started on today. If we can use the chat, I want to, welcome everyone to put their comments, their questions, and use the chat as an opportunity to exchange ahas, do questions as well. But then also I invite you to like be on screen, right? Let us see one another. Let's connect with one another. Let's touch base with each other's emotions and nonverbal. So just wanted to welcome folks today to do that. And I am going to get started. If we can use the chat to make it, oh, it's keeping going. If we could use the, I know it's in the back. If we can use the chat to introduce ourselves, our names, pronouns, what ministry or organization that we're with today, or even as an individual. I am going to share a screen of the presentation. Could everybody see my screen? Yes, all right. And place slideshow. Okay. All righty. So today we are talking about digital marketing, but in the sense of how digital marketing can serve as a tool to, one, build a more beautiful, better connected, community. Beautiful, yes, making sure that was right. A better connected community, but in addition, it's a carryover to a series or a presentation that I did earlier with the organization, and talking about using the power of social media to share the news of the kingdom. I would have to tell you that the message came to me last minute, in the sense of that Back in May, when I was doing this presentation, it was a blanket presentation of around digital media and digital marketing. However, the spirit led me to, anchor it in that message, because tools such as like social media, such as email, such as internet, are actually our vehicles to mobilize not only the goodness of the world, but also the messages, life, to connect with folks. But especially as we're talking about connecting with folks amid a global pandemic, but then also connecting with folks that we aren't able to see every day. So today we're going to dig a little bit deep into the like one-on-ones of social media, how it can be a benefit from you. But then in addition, I'm going to give you a folder of resources that you can use and build into your online communities as well. So I'm going to drop that into the chat. I think I can, right. Okay, I'm going to drop the folder into the chat. This is not going so well. Okay. Chat. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm trying to drop it into the chat. Ashley, I may just email it, message it to you. Okay, because I'm having some
And
technical.
we can share that with everybody via email and on Hoovra.
Yeah, it isn't something that it's stuff that people can use after the presentation or even before. So so today we're going to jump right in. This is a digital workshop, so I want to encourage you guys to be on camera, but then also to unmute. This is an exchange. This is less of a seminar, but learning is something that isn't a solo act, and it's also something that is more of an exchange. So please, if there's something that something that interests you, please shout it out. Feel free to exchange. But then also, if it's something that one of your partners in this session has said that interests you, I recommend that you also touch base with them, find out more, connect with them. That is how we're building community, through knowledge sharing, but also through just a simple hello, right? Sometimes we forget about the power of a simple hello. As we think about digital marketing and digital media, the pandemic has definitely, propelled social media as a tool amidst emails, amidst websites, amidst, phones, mobile phones that we use every day. But it leveraged it as a technology where we can see human connection and also inspiration happening. That's through the content that people are sharing. That's through the good news that is redistributed through our feeds. But that's also through the initiatives that we do every day by responding to a comment, following up on someone's birthday, even checking in a group. When you think about social media, it's an open platform to get you connected to the things that matter to you the most. So when thinking about today and what we're focusing on today, we're focusing on how social media can really be a tool for not only building community, but then also staying connected. There's a lot of conversation around social media these days, as if that you hear, oh, the algorithm doesn't work for us, or, protect your kids, from social media channels, or even talking about the fake news. And I would come to say that those all things are things that you should be listening to. But then also when thinking about what social media can do if you use it responsibly, just like every other technology, there are both pains and gains to the things that we use. And it's our opportunity to use it most effectively to the things that we need. So today we're going to walk away with a little bit of helpful guidance for establishing communication excellence, but then also marketing effectiveness through utilizing the Facebook business tools as well as the Instagram business tools as well. All righty, are we ready to jump in? Yes, all righty. Feel free to use the chat if there's any questions that come up. So social media, right? So social media is not that old, is one of our siblings, actually, when we think about technology and the birth of technology. But social media came to us in a sort of forms and shapes of different exchanges of different widgets, messengers, blog posts, landing pages. But social media came to us in the sense of these social networks that was made to help build community amongst community that we found commonalities amongst each other. So when looking at the social media timeline, you'll find that a lot of these different sites are actually considered social networks. Have anybody heard the word social networks before? Yeah. So like, yeah, social networks are our networks of people that we connect with, we have commonality with. Sometimes our social networks in the digital space, we counter that with our Facebooks, our Twitters, our YouTubes and such. But then also social networks in the natural realm is our friends, our families, the people that we fellowship with. So in thinking about a technology such as social media to help build stronger relationships around our social networks, social media is really an opportunity to help us build what we need that is essential amidst this COVID pandemic, which is connection with one another. When thinking about the global pandemic, it separated us far wide from our family, friends. But one thing that technology has done, especially around social networks, is it allowed us through a number of interactions to connect with the people that matters the most, connect with the information that we need the most, even make sure that the marketing that we're putting out actually serves them. So we're going to tap into a little bit of that and how that works. So social media are interactive communications and mobile technologies for individual users and brands to create, to share, and also to connect with people, fans, friends, foes, members of our community centers, members of our church, our family and friends, long distance relatives, our high school folks. You know, social media is the place where people are connecting. They are sharing content that matters the most to them as it relates to the news, but they're also connecting in a variety of different ways. They're connecting via Messenger, direct messenger, they're connecting via groups, they're connecting even on the timeline. But one thing to think about social media is an open space for all these opportunities to happen, right? For people to connect to things that matters to them the most, curate content that matters to them the most, but then also be in the space where they are amongst like-minded people, where they can build and see and grow that community. So when thinking about growing communities among social media platforms and social media networks, today we're going to focus on the examples of Facebook and Instagram. Facebook and Instagram are two of our largest networks that we have, but then also they're networks that integrate within other networks. This is very important, especially when we're thinking about websites, text messages, emails, all of the things that we are utilizing to connect with our communities. But then also the need around social media is that it's a platform in order to like allow that unpacking of the email, unpacking of the website to happen organically, right? You have so many different opportunities in social media to communicate stuff. So that's what we're going to dig into, like the different ways you can communicate in social media, especially when we're talking about digital marketing. So who should you engage on Facebook and Instagram? So a lot of times when we think about, you know, our Facebook and if we think about our Instagram, we automatically think about the friends that have like sent us a request, have either liked one of our pages. We often thinking about the people that are reaching from our content, especially when we're thinking about a brand page. So, you know, thinking about the different projects that we are embarking on this year and then also the previous year, it's important to think about Facebook and Instagram in the way of business, right? How could this brand utilize this technology to get the information to the people that it matters the most, the people who are most connected to the brand, people who find value in the brand. So when thinking about, you know, engaging on Facebook and Instagram, we want to reach people who either like your page, meaning that they took an action on your page and took consideration of some content. They either follow your page, and that we're going to dig into a live demo into one of the business pages, but then also the people that you reach. And when thinking about the people that you reach, these people may not be the people who liked your page. These people may not be your friends, but these are the people that your message, your information resonated with, right? So we're talking about real impact here when we're talking about people that we've reached. And that goes for both Facebook and Instagram. When you're thinking about the people that you have access for you in social media. You first have your followers, right? Then you have the people who may like your brand, thinking depending on what type of page you have, and then the people that you reach. We're talking about real mobilizing. We're talking about real engaging with folks. We're talking about really inspiring folks organically, right? So when thinking about how this may like extend beyond marketing, we're going to dig into like how marketing tools such as Facebook business marketing can help extend our reach. But in thinking about engaging on both Facebook and Instagram, just looking it over, people who like your page, they automatically receive updates to your news feed. But in addition to that, the people who like your page, they also have an opportunity to like go follow your page as well. Most of the times that the people who like your page are the people who follow your page because that's the nature of the technology that's set up. So it's a win-win. When thinking about, for Instagram, it's the people who follow your page and the people that you reach. In thinking about Instagram pages are about followership, right? It's about who we're bringing along with our messages, who we're bringing along into our community, who we're bringing along with our key topics and our key calls to action. A little different than the Facebook, but still there's a core on the people who are following you, but then also there's a core focus on the people that you reach, which is that these are the people that you're reaching with your content, you're reaching with your marketing, you're reaching with your initiatives that goes beyond your followers or go beyond your friends. That means that's real impact of that your message is really doing something, really hitting somebody where they need it the most, and that this showed up into their timeline as well. So in thinking about the opportunities around reach, this is so important when thinking about building your messages, that you want to make sure that you build a message that resonates in order for it to reach the person that it's intended to reach. So in thinking about, one, who do you engage? How do you engage on Facebook and Instagram, right? Especially when we're talking about business pages. So you engage in 3 different ways: your posts, your stories, and your messenger. A lot of times the nature of the different updates and technologies that come with Facebook, especially the Facebook family of apps, which also includes Instagram, which also includes Messenger. A lot of people don't know that Messenger is actually a channel of its own. But in thinking about how do you engage with these folks, and we're talking about building that organic platform in order to extend that, you want to make sure that you have a consistent of posts, that the content is relevant to your actual page, to your actual brand, to your actual mission, to your actual cause. Stories is another touch point to publish content, right? Facebook stories are interactive photos and videos that are visible to your community for 24 hours. So this is an opportunity and a touch point to like test content, but also to see like who's actually like looking at your content, who's engaged on a daily basis. But then also Messenger. Messenger is another way to like really like dig down and build solid relationships in the digital space. Amid COVID, I can tell you that every single one of these touch points were active because people needed things. People needed to get to vaccines. People needed more information to make informed decisions. But in addition, people were scared. So utilizing these like 3 touch points as an opportunity to connect with folks, to disseminate information, but to also be present with folks at their time of need has proved a really great value for a lot of different people that I work with as far as my different organization. So, with AFC, we work with 16 internal clients that serve communities who are looking to end the epidemic in HIV and homelessness. And thinking about the different ways that we have to connect folks in a different content, I can tell you that we use posts, stories, and messengers as different opportunities to connect, but move people along, right? It isn't just the hello, it's the engagement afterwards that's going to really inspire someone and keep them engaged with not only your mission, not only your page, but then also the vehicle that you're building as well. And thinking about the similarities as it relates to Instagram, post stories or direct message are once again a foundation in the way that we engage, right? So the different posts are things that we see externally. The different stories are things that we connect directly with the people who follow us, but then also the direct message is connecting directly with that user. So it's an opportunity to bring it from the forefront into a 101. So when thinking about, and I'll stop here, are there any questions? No, yeah, this is just a grounding of like what social media is. So some of these may be, you may already know this information, but it's always good for us to start all at the same place. So in thinking about social media and thinking about the different ways we engage, who we engage, once again, this is an act called social networking, right? You know, building virtual communities that allows users to express their interests, timeline while building connections through news feeds, timelines, link in bio, direct messages, private and public groups, and fundraising. Yes, you can also fundraise in social media as well, right? That's one of the many different features that they offer. But then, you know, when we jump outside of the social networking, and that's mainly of the organic, that's the foundation work that we're doing, then we get into the mobilizing, and that's where we get into the social media marketing. Social media marketing is a great tool to allow us to extend our messages, extend our content, extend our reach to the people that we're looking to engage. And it's an incredibly helpful tool that is often underutilized within these channels. A lot of times we say, oh, let's put it to social media, and you put it to the feed and it gets nowhere, right? But then something like social media marketing is really an opportunity at the very smallest of amount to really extend something that may not be shown to someone who is busy, working a job, probably have kids, probably have a million different other things going on their plate. It's an opportunity to really make sure that these messages, core messages, are placed in front of the people that they need to be in place in front of. So in thinking about social media marketing from social networking is the groundwork, right? That is the meat and potatoes, that is doing the grassroots, that is on the streets, that is in the feeds, that is in the chat, and we are getting people connected to this mission, right? But social marketing, extending that, that's saying, let's go further, right? This mission, this message, this movement, this page, this work can really improve someone's life, can really extend someone's life so they can thrive. And social media marketing is an opportunity to do that. So when thinking about your social media offerings, right, you have a set of core offerings that are offered across your different social media channels. Today, we're going to focus in on Facebook and Instagram, but I wanted to show you so you can see that the variety of different contents rarely change across the different channels, right? So you have video, photo, inbox, text, link, live stream, that's live video, that's a news feed. There's a news feed in like just about every single one of the social media channels. But then also there's brand and advertising in those channels as well, not only from the channel itself, but then also brand advertising that you can place within your channel. So in thinking about outside of the content, outside of the communication, there's also brand advertising that you can also place within these different channels where you can like set it, make sure you set your audience, and then after that, keep that moving forward and keep the work moving forward. Social media is really a tool to help us, you know, do the work that we couldn't do, you know, in person. It's really hard to, you know, gather. It's really hard to mobilize. It's sometimes really hard to fellowship, you know? So when thinking about social media, it kind of breaks down some of those like silos in order to make the hello easier, but then also to make things even more accessible as we're talking about a global, you know, pandemic that we don't know it's going to end. So when thinking about your social media content offerings, you can say a message in a variety of different ways, whether that's a video, whether that's a photo, whether you're sending a message directly to your audience via inbox, whether that's something that you're sharing via text or a link. But then also, you know, things such as direct engagement, the live stream through your newsfeed is another opportunity, but for people to really recognize you and see where your work is and also click and refer back to it, you know, marketing can definitely help extend the brand advertisement, you know, for your different projects, but then also for yourself. So we're going to jump right into the live the live segment of this presentation today, where we're actually going to walk through to the back end. But, I wanted to transition, and like this scripture really like stood out to me because, when thinking about our messages and thinking about the things that we're trying to develop, something that came up in the last or in the last session was that, how do I know that, this is what I need to be saying? How do I know that this is what I need to share? And like this really stuck out to me, Isaiah 55:11, because, anything that's coming out, as long as it's connected to our purpose, as long as it's connected to our promise, especially the work that we're trying to do, right? It's going to go out and do what it needs to do, right? So a lot of times when we thinking about social media, we look at social media and be like, paying attention to the likes or paying attention to, how many people comment. But it really, the core of it is how many people did we reach? How many people did we reach with our message today? How many people did we connect? Those are the benefits when thinking about, social media, but especially when you're thinking about marketing, because a lot of times we can get caught up into like the numbers, but really it's the impact that we're looking at. And we can talk a little bit about how that impact and how those metrics show up. So message, right? In thinking about developing your message, you also want to think about how you're developing that message, right? The voice, tone, things to consider. In thinking about this, technology is something that we often overlook the value of, but especially the necessity of certain words, certain grammars, but then also, when thinking about, the different types of channels that we work within, something that we're writing for email may not work for Facebook. Something that we're writing for Facebook may not work for Twitter. So really, when thinking about developing your messages and choosing your content, you want to make sure that you're trying to connect. You're trying to be relatable. Common words, being concise about what you're trying to say, writing short messages to keep people engaged, but then also to have them go somewhere else for them to engage their considerations. But then also in thinking about the language, you want to make sure that you're using language that's relevant, using language that is consistent with not only your brand, consistent not only with your word, consistent not only with your organization, but you also want to make sure that you're using words that doesn't draw a bigger gap between you and the person or you and the community. So, in some considerations around like the message and like we went from the technology to the message, and then we're going to get into the strategy. You want to definitely think about these things, right? So one, you want to think about what type of content that you're distributing, what channels that you're distributing from, but then also what are your key messages? How do you want to articulate them, right? How are they resonating with these different communities? And where social media marketing can really play a key role in this is that one, testing those different messages across your different audience, right? So a lot of times when we say like, oh, we don't know whether this message is actually going to resonate, and you want to like do a little bit of like science, do a little bit of understanding, social media marketing is an opportunity for you to do that. So in thinking about the post, and I'm going to stop here to see if there is any questions. No question.
I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
So this was in your diagram, the graph that showed what kind of posts or engagements you can get on the different platforms. Mm-hmm. Can you speak to the difference between inbox and text? How would you differentiate those?
Yes. So inbox is the actual, like the messenger, right? Text is the text that you put on like a message, like an update status onto your news feed. So that is what the difference between the inbox and text. And, that may be good to even update for myself. So thank you for that. It's a question that comes up, but, similar in the ways that Facebook, Instagram, all of these different channels, mainly, Twitter, that is a text-based, social network, right? Where different from Instagram, where it's based around like photography, it's based around captions, it's based around, brands and connectivity. So really good question.
AW has a good question. She says, I've noticed more people writing long posts on Instagram, almost like a journal entry. Is this a thing? I've always been told to keep it short, but I've noticed that this year.
Mhm. Yeah, so when thinking about it, the context of words, so we're talking about marketing for, us, right? We're talking about that. So those have a consistency around the message, how you develop the message, making sure it's concise, because you're looking to like transition a person across a marketing funnel or across a journey. Different from a person's status where they may update something. I've learned not to limit folks, right? Because you may miss a very important context, to the message. So in thinking about it, a lot of people write those long posts. Is it a marketing post? Probably not, right? Could it be a marketing post? Probably so. And that's where those small considerations around your content, small considerations around your copy, small considerations around your whole creative for the advertisement come into play. And there's all these different like type of decisions that you can make and levers that you can pull. And a lot of times we want to make sure that we pull the best one, but within marketing, it's the opportunity to like go back, try something, see what works, and continue to move that forward. So I recommend that those long posts dig into what is happening there. Is there dialogue there? Are they engaging with others there? I say like look at those long posts to see how they engage community, because sometimes it's the long posts that engage community, not the short one. Okay, so we are okay, great. We got here. Go back. All right, and folks, the chat screen is not in the middle of your screen, no? No, only in mine? Okay, great. I was making sure. Okay, because I see the chat screen. I was like, okay, it shouldn't be there. Okay, so back to this. So we've all seen this like in our news feeds or on our computers before, right? Yes? Could anybody tell me what that is?
Facebook post?
Yes, a Facebook post. So I love this because the Facebook post, we were introduced to it as a status update. And over time, it has definitely evolved to do more, to operate more, as definitely from the admin side, but then also have all these like neat, cool little features, both for how we publish, but then how we promote stuff. And in thinking about a post, it's more like a strategy. I feel that because you both have like the social part of it, the emotional part, but also the functional part you have to think about. And I bring these up and break these down, especially as we're thinking about, utilizing social media to mobilize our messages, to grow our movement, to grow our work and amplify our work. These are considerations that we need to, really dig into, right? So, what you say matters and how you say it makes all the difference. Going back to the comment or the question around a long post versus short post, what do you need to say in this publishing, right? What is the purpose of you publishing it? A lot of times we get a social media and we want to publish everything, but when growing a movement, right? When utilizing Facebook for a business to help amplify your work, you want to take these considerations, into, your everyday, especially as you're developing communication priorities, but then also marketing priorities as well. So, the social part is that you want to keep it simple in the construction. May not be simple in the message, but simple in the construction because you still want people to comprehend. The emotional part is because so when thinking about Facebook and thinking about, social media, there's an emotional connection rather than a rational connection to why people click into stuff, right? So when they're seeing this across their timeline, we have to take into account what time of day it is, how is this a message going to make them feel, but then also what are we asking them to do? And that's where we get into the functional part of it as well. It's pretty straightforward. Most of the time it's a button, but in thinking about that and thinking about the functional aspect of all of our different posts, sometimes it isn't a button, sometimes it isn't a share, sometimes it isn't a like, sometimes we're marketing folks to like learn more or to do more. So how can we make that both simple and accessible, connect to their emotional needs, but then also help them with their functional needs as well in Facebook as well, Facebook or Instagram. So in thinking about like building out your movement, building out your messages and using, social media to do that, it's a lot more to think about than like posting something on a Wednesday at 5:30, there's many considerations that you want to consider and that you may not always consider the best thing that's going to get you what you want on the first try. But the great thing about marketing that you can like recenter, go back, look at what you've done and keep going. So it's an ongoing thing that you want to continue to work at, and work at. And Facebook makes it accessible to everyone, that anyone can start with Facebook business marketing, and that they have like different tools and such, which we're going to go over later in the presentation today. So when thinking about marketing and thinking about building out a marketing strategy, moving from the social media and moving into the marketing, these are the things you want to consider. Sorry about that. So these are 4 things you want to consider, right? This is called the marketing mix. It is a foundational piece to every single one of the marketing strategies that you see today on your TV, in your church, even as you're walking down the street. Every single marketing strategy is grounded in these 4 areas. They definitely expand over time, but when thinking about the initial things that you need to think about, you need to think about the price. You want to think about the how much it's costing both you, but also how much it's costing the user to do this. You want to think about the promotion, right? You want to think about where you're promoting it, where you're placing it. You want to think about the place, right? What are the channels that we're engaging them in, but then also you want to think about the product, what are we asking them and what are we giving them to meet their need? So in thinking about the marketing mix, and then to the marketing funnel is the journey of it all, right? So when you're building into your marketing strategy, how do we, plan out a success for our marketing strategy that is, right? So a marketing funnel is also another foundational piece to marketing strategy and then also marketing development. When thinking about a person, especially amid a digital landscape or even a landscape of in person of joining a church or joining an organization, there are like 3 core touch points within that experience. First, a person becomes aware. Second, then after that, there's a consideration. And then there's a conversion, what we call conversion in marketing is when they actually make the step, right? So a person joins the church, a person gives their life to Christ. Those are conversions that we typically see in our faith realm. In the marketing realm, our conversions are the success of your actual marketing strategy. So if you're looking to do like a marketing campaign, say that you're I don't know, you have a new product. The conversion would be how many people bought the product. The conversion would be how many people liked the page. The conversion would be how many people signed up to follow. These different values build into the work that you're doing, but then also to reiterate that it doesn't happen in one try, right? That you have to maybe go back again and again and again. But then also, when thinking about marketing, these are things that you can set and build out to when thinking about the different messages you want to engage a person, but then also retain a person over the time that you're looking to engage them in. So yeah, so the marketing funnel, and this a little context into like questions that you should be asking yourself, especially as we're thinking about social media. And social media, there's a mirage of different notifications that are happening day in and day out. So in thinking about building out your messages, these are also considerations that you want to think about, right? When are they most likely to be receptive for the message? How might they feel when receiving the message? Where would they encounter those messages? Those are all logistical things that you will also notice that goes back to our marketing mix, right? These are all questions and considerations that we're thinking about our marketing mix down to our marketing funnel and into our marketing strategy. So I'm going to stop here for questions because this is where I want to transition to the live segment, but then also, share a bit of story of how I got involved into social media, especially from my studies. But I just wanted to pause to one for questions, and then after that, we can keep moving it along because we're going to move into the live segment where you'll be able to see the back end of a Facebook business account for your own viewing. But I wanted to see if there was anything that I could answer or anything that I skipped over. Can I stop? How do I?
You mind if I just ask it real quick?
Mhm.
I'm just curious about like Reddit and what you feel or think about it. It's kind of beyond me, but is it marketing or is it just another space?
Oh, so Reddit is a content publishing space, so it's definitely social media. Is it a social network? No. Content publishing, yeah. So it's similar to like YouTube and such. I know that we wanted to focus on communities here, so all of the channels we focused around like our social networks. But yeah, Reddit is the content publishing, content sharing, type of social media. Okay, no further questions. I'm going to pull my Facebook page out. Okay, great. And while I have you guys, I'm going to drop the folder into the chat of the resources. So we made a folder last time, and I just updated the folder with more resources for today. So you'll find that there are 3 folders within the Google Drive folder, but these are resources that you can use for both yourself, and then also others. These are guides and e-learnings that are provided from open source Facebook, but they are the Bibles to the work that we do. But in addition to that, I want to note that with Facebook Elevate is that it's also a service that, builds into admin support for, Black and Brown, admins who are working within, Facebook and Instagram technology. So definitely something to, consider when thinking about, tools and resources and people to connect to that, it's definitely not something done alone. And it's definitely something that people are there to help you. So, and also willing to help as well. We're going to jump right back into the presentation. Okay, great. All righty. So yeah, I got involved in social media kind of by accident, to say the least. I was reading the magazine that you see on the far right while I was in Finland, studying grad school, a part of this like amazing cohort. And these are all, folks who were a part of that memory, a part of this chapter. But it was Natalie Nixon who, brought me into doing more thought thinking around innovation and innovation marketing. But, more directly, a lot of the thought around how do we use, social media in the age of branding came from a magazine that, I read while I was in Finland. And what I learned in there is that the nature in which that, we have come to learn to use these technologies is to come brand everything out. Everything needs to be designed and designed pretty, but the nature in which these technologies are built, they are built for human connection. They're built around how do we connect people to the things that they need the most. And that the picture above you was an app that we created utilizing data, the Google API to connect different readers to other readers that were reading similar things. A simple thing that is available to everyone in every single channel. Like you can go back and grab your Google API from your different mailbox, from your Gmail. But then also in thinking about the technology itself, really social media is that channel to like connect with folks authentically and utilizing the best quality of information, the best quality of creative, the best quality of the words that we put together and the photography that we take, to disseminate that and make sure that it's reaching folks. So it's less about branding, and we're not going to talk about branding today because branding isn't necessary in the need of, connecting with folks. What's needed is that we're connecting with folks around people's stories. We're connecting with folks around information that they need. We're connecting with folks with the services and the resources that they need as well and calls to action. So I want to encourage you, I dropped the resources in the chat, but I also want to encourage you as we go through the second half of the presentation today, to also think about social media as a tool for you and not a tool that you have to like, build yourself around, right? There's content that you are currently building up within these movements, within these messages, within these, efforts that we're gathered and convening today around, right? And within that, I just want to encourage you that, in thinking about the communications that you have, how can we make them the best that they can be and distribute them beautifully, right? How can we make sure that they're accessible and do that work? And data is really the opportunity to allow you to have that booster, have that greater support in order to do that effective work. So we are going to go into Facebook. Okay, great. So this is my Facebook. Can everybody see the screen? Yes? Yes, okay. So I wanted to bring you guys, like, just go through one of like my days, the back end for one of our Facebook channels. So as you see, I have two admins because one is for work that I do outside of work, and the other one is for personal. But in thinking about building up these channels and utilizing these channels for your work, I do recommend that you build a separate account, so you can be able to like church and state. You have your business over here, you have your personal life over here, because it can get, the more people you mobilize, the more notifications, and it can get kind of crazy. Life can definitely be a notification here. And I wanted to log in from the inception because data security is also very important, and thinking about. So you also want to set a two-person authenticator, for your accounts as well. And that's what I'm doing now. Not setting one, but then just putting the number in, and simple like this, it keeps all of your information safe. Why is this important? Because you're like, oh, it's only social media. Literally everything in here is a data set. Everything in here is tracked, every login, every like, is making someone else money. So when thinking about that, you want to definitely keep your information safe, because similar in the ways that people are tapping base in these different brands and such, they can tap in base into your Facebook as well. So I recommend doing a two-code authenticator, for that. I'm gonna do 909, okay, 389. Do everyone have a Facebook account? Facebook business account? Yes, great. Okay. So Facebook. So when you go into your pages, as said, my day-to-day work, I work at the AIDS Foundation of Chicago, and we push out a variety of different calls to actions and key messages as it relates to, ending the HIV epidemic, as well as ending the homeless epidemic. So when thinking about, well, not thinking about, but the daily work is logging into this account and seeing what news have been shared, but then also what needs to be shared. But I wanted to show you the back end of what a business account can look like, especially one that is active with marketing. So the business suite is the Facebook business part. It also is integrated across your Instagram as well. So you're able to not only publish within your Facebook business suite, but you're also able to manage within the suite as well. So you'll see that posting stories, like once again, different content, priorities. Posting stories, you'll see that both our Instagram as well as our Facebook is linked within here. So you'll see content that both is published, scheduled, and also drafts for our Facebook and also our Instagram. So when building out your content, for the different channels, Facebook business is a good place to start because it's integrated and it's a silo place where you can see everything, happening. And thinking, going further into the Facebook business suite, you have your home page, you have notifications, your inbox. For the nature of those conversations, I am going to skip past the inbox. You have your calendar. The calendar is your content calendar. So this is the way that you're able to see your content at a glance. But then also what's really cool is that you're also able to see what the reactions of this content as well. Most people set up a regular cadence, for their content. We are publishing almost every day, which is crazy, but it's a lot of news to be shared in there. So that's your calendar, that's your content. And then this is where we get into the ads. So once again, social media marketing is the opportunity to extend what already is happening in your channel, right? So, a few core things that AFC does as far as mobilizing people towards these ends is one, hosted events. We do editorial and news, in addition, calls to action. And thinking about those different ways, we use social media marketing as a way to extend those offerings, to community. So, initially, our communities are a wide variety of Black and Brown communities that have been marginalized, historically marginalized, by HIV, by the response to HIV/AIDS, by the response to, equitable housing. So, we have a variety of different ads that are running at various different times, from both ongoing and also events. And you'll see here that a lot of the advertising that we do is pushing out our events. So these are opportunities for people to know what our activities are, and also a common place where you'll see that other organizations are pushing out their events as well. There's actually a site within Facebook where you can go back and check different ads that are published across different brands as well. So I'll make sure I drop that in the chat so you guys can have that, because sometimes it's also good to go back and see what other people are doing. But in thinking about, utilizing marketing, marketing is to extend our offerings, right? To one, place in front of people who aren't being reached or who are underserved. So in thinking about that, it's a really great opportunity to continue the work to enhance the work, not do the work for you. You know, that initial ground doing of building your community, publishing the content is the foundation for the marketing work that is going to go further. You know, it's building your audience, seeing what they're interested in, seeing what they're not interested in. It's learning about people. And that's really what the opportunity here when thinking about social networking and marketing and social marketing is that the values that you understand of the person are a lot more contextual than they are, you know, quantifiable. Speaking of insights, this is the insight page here. And every single one of your business suites have these where you're able to track along the different engagement of your pages. Now, one thing to think about and one thing to know about insights is that it's consistent. So March 1st of this day is in comparison to March 1st, the last day. So it's like an ongoing feed of, you know, consistency that you want to really get your cadence in the, you know, in good gear and in a good place with. But in addition that you also are able to plan awareness days, key days, look at, do an A/B test year versus year to see how content performed. So I really loved Insights, or I really love Insights because this is the bread and butter to making your marketing even more effective and making your content even more effective. If it doesn't resonate, you will see it in your results. You know, I think one of the most important metrics for, you know, this work is that the work resonates, and that if people aren't responding, if it's not reaching folks, then after that, there's a likelihood that the message needs to be changed. And that is where you go back and you change your different content types. That is where you go back and tweak your copy as well. I know we have 5 more minutes, so I want to be mindful of time. In your folder that's provided to you, there is 3 guides. One is a guide for the admin for Facebook Business. It says, because there's a test that is taken for all the admin every year that gives them like this special credit. So I thought it was a really helpful, you know, material to like get everything that you need to know about, you know, Facebook business marketing. But in addition, the other tool you should also have a tool for setting up your advertisement, getting started with that, and also getting started with Facebook Elevate. Oftentimes in these presentations that we either run over time, or there's more questions or more work to be done. And I wanted to make sure that we continue to give you not only a touch point to continue your work and to help ground your work or make clarity of what we discussed today, but then in addition to have somebody in addition to myself that you can also call on to for, you know, additional like digital marketing questions. One thing I would say about Facebook Elevate, and also, you know, the things that are offered in Facebook, is that they're very keen on giving you all that you need to get started, because once you get started and you get a great start on your marketing, get a great start on your content, it just continues to improve, you know? So I'm hoping that, you know, both this information can help improve the understanding of what we use social media for and what social media is, but then also the opportunities you have around social media marketing, right? A lot of times we think enough is to have the network, but sometimes you need to extend to make sure that a person isn't being missed. There were a few worksheets that I embedded into the presentation. And actually, I would like to show them this at least. And what I can do is I can put the presentation within the folder, but then also make it available to you. But a lot of times we are trying to plan this work. There's a lot of considerations. There's a lot to be done. And with that, you know, I wanted to give you guys some tools to help plan and also to take into account, you know, all these different things that you have to think about, whether I'm gonna do a video, a photo, inbox, well, not inbox, but text, a link, you know, share the news. Do I need brand advertisement? You know, it's really grounded in the nature of your decisions. So these tools you're actually going to get within the folder, but as well as within this deck. And when you click into it, they're also editable within the folders itself. But these are what we call to be a canvas. So this is like a business model canvas that we utilize, but then also there's a centering of both the person, the different type of channels that we're doing. So I thought this would be very helpful around the movements and the initiatives that you guys are building. I built out the initial, building blocks to each one of them, so you can have context as you're like exploring as well.
Great.
Back with the funnel, putting the funnel into practice. Here's a sheet where you can go and plan out your content strategy across your channels, your content, your action, your communities in that funnel as well. So I thought that would be a helpful tool to you. But then also there's another tool here, and this may take a little bit more of explaining, but this is another tool to build into, that funneling, to build into your strategy as well, to like just really build it out, unpack it. But then also when you're thinking about what's happening within the channels, people are either thinking, saying, doing something. What do we want them to think, say, or do? That's the context in which that we need to be thinking about our social efforts, but also our social marketing efforts. And that is it for my presentation today. I feel like I always run out of time, but if there's any questions, please let me know.
Yeah, and we invite you. Thank you so much, Dantes. As things come up, those are some great resources. Thank you for making those available. And I did go ahead and drop that link in Whova, so you're welcome to access that if you're watching now live, or you are circling back and watching later. And as those questions arise, please drop those in the Q&A or in the chat function there in Whova, and we'll make sure that we circle back and we get that information. But I want to honor our time. Thank you all. We have our last workshop coming up in half an hour, so we'll see you there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Should I stay on or should I end this?